All right. We're here to do part two of our conversation around Kaddish, although it's been over 4 weeks because we had 2 weeks of not quite getting there. So let's say our bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And our goal right now is to take a look at the text itself. And I am pulling up from the Ashkenaz prayer book, the Kaddish Shalem, understanding that our Mourner's Kaddish is essentially the same as the Kaddish Shalem, with the addition in Kaddish Shalem of one paragraph, and we'll discuss that in a moment. So we discussed also last week that Yitkadal v'Yikadash Shemei Rabbah is sort of in the tradition of a number of other statements. Baruch Shem Kavod Mochuto Le'olam Va'ed, and this idea of heaping praise on God's name and celebrating it in the context. Originally, we found when a person would give a sermon, they might end with actually this line, Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Ulamei Al Maya. That's what students would say. But let's start from the beginning and go into it. And you remember this is in Aramaic, but you're going to see a lot of parallel words, and we'll point those out for those who are trying to learn Hebrew. Hopefully you'll see some of the parallels. And I'll do my best. Aramaic is not my first or even second language. It's definitely further down on the list of languages. And also Aramaic goes through different phases, and the Aramaic of the Kaddish prayer is different than the Aramaic of modernity, which is different from the Aramaic of the time of Onkelos, which is different from the Aramaic of the time of the Talmud. You can say different and kind of say, well, it all kind of looks the same, in the same way that Beowulf looks like, Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address. They're both words. They have words that kind of are similar. They've got the same font, but linguistically, there's just some significant differences. In any case, Yit Gadol v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. So, may his great name, right, Shemei Rabbah, may it be enlarged, made big, and made holy, or lifted up, exalted, and made and sanctified, right? Yit Gadol v'Yit Kadash. So it's just a sort of a statement of praise of God. Ba'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. In the world which he created according to his will. I should see, let's see if there's a Hebrew translation here. There may be one. No such luck. Oh well. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. In the world, olam, right, which God created, bara, according to his will. Kirtsono is kirute. Ve'amlich malchute. And may his kingdom rule, or may he rule his kingdom, as this is translated, but I think it's actually the other way around. B'chayechon v'yomechon, in your life and in your days, uvechaye dechol beit Yisrael, and in the lives of all of the house of Israel, ba'agala, which they translate here as speedily, but I think agala is in this, let's see how they translate it. I thought it's like an agala. It can also be like rolling, right? Okay, sort of in this wheelhouse. I don't know how to get this, but
Agala is a wagon.
Right, an agala is a wagon. So in this which I've always thought, I'm realizing as I'm reading this, I conflated it with Gilgul, as in this lifetime. But here they translate, the Jastrow Dictionary makes it say rolling swiftness, right? Moving quickly, uvis mankariv, and in the near future, and in a nearby time, the imru amen, and let us say amen. Okay, let's look at this in English. We just did the translation, and I wanted to show you that all these words really do have their parallels in Hebrew. But what's being said? Exalted and sanctified. May God's name be lifted up and made holy. God's great name. And then everyone says amen. And then we have here that this lifting up should happen now, in this world, and in this lifetime. So both space and time should be devoted to this God being lifted up and sort of elevated and celebrated. Does that make sense? Yes, Sylvia.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
Yes, you did the Klein response. Yay. No, so this usually the service reader, the Shaliach, Sibur, or whatever, reads it and then the congregation says amen. But so many times people just read along. What is the what are we supposed to be doing? What are we supposed to be doing?
Well, you're supposed to be responding amen. You're not really supposed to be participating. Although there's a melody, we'll discuss this later, that everyone sings along for part of it. But you'll see that if the way this is written, maybe it's hard to see on the screen, but amen is bolded. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'Lamei Almaya is bolded. These are the parts that the community says out loud. Okay, Pamela.
Okay. Yeah. Well, part of my interest in the Kaddish is that it's actually the first, Hebrew prayer. I didn't realize it was Aramaic, that I learned because my father-in-law had passed away, and I wasn't even Jewish, but this rabbi gave me the transliteration of the prayer and said, here, you can say this for your father-in-law. He's a Reform rabbi. So, the thing is that now listening to the words, I can see how, if you understand what you were saying, that this would be so it would be almost a game changer. You've been through so much grief that's been going on, and the word is telling you to think a different way, actually, to turn it around and to sanctify God's name, even though you're feeling so much grief. And that, it's something that, he's in charge of the whole world, so you can't understand why this has happened, but let's just still praise that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yes, and this second paragraph really ties us back into the world, so as to say that God is around us, even if we're not seeing it. And so when we lose someone, of course, thinking about God means imagining something greater than the grief and the sadness that we're feeling in the moment, in space and in time. Okay. And then the Kahila responds, Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam U'Lamei Almaya. Let me translate that. Yehi Shemo Rav Mevorach Le'olam U'Lamei Olamim. May his name, his great name, be blessed forever and ever. Le'olam u'le'olmei olamim. La'alam u'la'almei almaya. So that's a pretty bold expression. of commitment. And this, as we said, is really the centerpiece of the whole prayer. And that's probably why this part is said out loud. It's the only real part that's said out loud besides Amen. Although we sing, people will sing a part of it, and we'll get to that later. Okay. Moving forward. Okay, this is the heaping of praise and celebration of God, one word after the other. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yithalal. How many words is that? Is that 9, 2, 4, 6, 8? 8 levels of doing stuff to his name, the name of the Holy One of Blessing. May the name of the Holy One of Blessing be blessed, be praised, be made splendorous or glorified, as they translate here. May it be elevated, may it be carried, may it be praised, another way of saying praised, and may it be lifted up, yit aleh, like aliyah, v'yit halal. I'm sorry, yit hadar is actually made beautiful. At least that's how I would translate it. And v'yit halal is to be praised again. May God's name be all of these things. It's interesting. It's God's name. It's not God. It's interesting, in light of what was just mentioned a moment ago, this is actually what religious people do. Another example of this is when we say, when we lose a loved one, we say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, right? We mention God in that context as being a great arbiter of lifespan. I would even dare say, though it may be uncomfortable for people to hear, that when people in the Muslim world commit acts of what do you call it? Zealotry, and someone dies, they say Allahu Akbar, which is essentially the same idea. God is great. So when you put it in that context, it means something very different because we know how it affects us. But in this context, we don't do this. We don't say this in acts of martyrdom or acts of slaughter. But we do have this way in which the interface between life and death is acknowledged as a God moment, which is interesting. Okay. Any comments on all the heaping of praise that we just did? Okay. Le'elah. Okay. Aliyah, same word, to lift up. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata. May this name that we've lifted up and elevated and glorified and celebrated and praised, may it, above from all the blessings, above all blessings, Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, and all songs, tushbechata, praises, right? Aleinu l'shabeach, same word. V'nechemata, and acts of consoling. Da amiran, da in Aramaic is the same as she, which we say, da'amiran, be'alma, in the world, ba'olam, and let us say amen. May it be elevated in all these various ways, way above all the blessings and songs and praises and consolings which we say in this world. God is so much greater that we want God's name to be lifted even higher. And we have this addition on high holidays where we say higher and higher, above and above. There's a great song by the Moshav Band called Higher and Higher. Higher and higher, higher and higher. right? The Moshe Band, which is a Carlebach group that was from the Moshav Modi'in, where Carlebach lived for many years. They have this song about going higher and higher, and we talk about getting high. Well, the original getting high is a religious expression. It's not surprising that some of the hippie Jews like to get high, I guess. Anyway, and actually Hasidic Judaism has that too. But that's all a distraction from what we're focusing on right now. So let it go higher and higher. God's name, may it be exceeding. And then we have a line that only appears in this Kaddish Shalem, which we don't have in Reform Judaism, but you'll see in conservative synagogues and Orthodox synagogues. Titkabel. Okay, so this is not in the Mourner's Kaddish, just this one line. Titkabel Saloton Uvauton Dechol Beit Yisrael. May it be received. What may be received? Our prayers, Saloton, Uvauton, and our pleas. Pleas as in Pleas. When we say Bishayat, let's see. Bishayata Dishmaya. No, that's not what this is. This is the same as a request, a bikesh. Uvauton, Dechol Beit Yisrael. May our prayers and our pleas be received. The prayers and pleas of all of the house of Israel be received Kodam Avuhon, before their father, Divishmaya, that is in heaven. So we talk about their father who art in heaven, and isn't that interesting? Because in Christianity they have, I should say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Isn't that what they call it? Isn't that how it goes? I'm not so familiar with with that prayer, but it's a big prayer in Christianity. The Lord's Prayer. Isn't that what they call it? The yes. Lord's Prayer. So, Avuhon Divishmaya, where do they get the language? From the Jews. V'imru amen. May there be acceptance of the prayers and supplications of the entire house of Israel before their Father in heaven, and let us say amen. So this is a line that often Reform rabbinical students like myself, when we first go off to rabbinical school and are exposed to more traditional ways because we've been raised in a Reform setting our whole lives, we're like, how do you say this as fast as the other parts? Tittkabel Soton Vavon Dechol Beit Yisrael Kodem Avon Divishmai V'imru Amen. And I remember struggling to get those words out of my mouth for the longest time. It still comes a little bit with some hesitation. But what you see in this is Titkabel. And I've instructed my son that the only way he's allowed to say the Kaddish Shalem is to reference it as the Kaddish Titkabel. And then he went into some of the mystical prayer books that he owns and noticed that they don't call it Kaddish Shalem, they call it Kaddish Titkabel. So it should tell you something. And why? Because that's what the essence of this is. It's the receiving. It says the acceptance of the prayer, but Titkabel is the same word as Kabbalah, which means to receive. Lekabel means to receive something. So may it be received, these prayers. Meaning, please God, after I just davened the Amidah, I've said all these prayers, please receive them. If for no other reason than because you love the Jewish people. Okay, Pamela.
And you just answered that question, actually, in your statement. My question was, where in the service do we say the Kaddish Shalem? And you said after the Amidah. So right.
Yes, it's after the Amidah with the one exception of if there's Hallel, then it comes after Hallel. There you go. Okay, Sylvia.
So, lower hand. Okay. So Kabbalah means, okay. So in our Daf Yomi, we have been learning that when they carry the bowl of blood, right, Pamela? I hope I'm getting this right. It's called Kabbalah, right? Okay, so they slaughter the animal, they drain the blood, they put it in a bowl, and then they carry it, and then they do all this sprinkling of the blood. And I never could figure out what the connection with that word is when we say Kabbalat Shabbat and Kabbalah and all of that. Do you know, Jonathan, why it's called that?
I'm not sure what the word is you're looking at, so I think you're going to need to find it and then share.
So, Sylvia, it might be the receiving of the blood is Kabbalah. There's a different word for taking it to the altar. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me,
yeah.
There's niska, which is like pouring.
Now I'll look up. There's 4 steps, and they all have. Oh, you know what? I'll look.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going while you're looking, okay? Because I would love to finish this prayer. We're actually going to finish potentially almost on time. Okay. While you're looking, then the last 2 sentences. The first one is Aramaic. The second one is Hebrew. Yehei shlama rabbah. I love this sentence, and it never gets enough attention because people don't understand Aramaic. But it's essentially a first statement of what comes afterward. And I don't know how Oseh Shalom got slapped on there, but Yehei shlama rabbah, may the great peace be, the great peace from heaven, min shemaya, min hashamayim, may it be, right? V'chayim aleinu, and life upon all of us, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, and upon all of Israel. It's always interesting that there's on us and there's on all of Israel. Ve'imru amen. Ve'imru is just the same way as saying v'nomar, or let us say amen. And then finally, Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleh. So these are slightly different languages, different concepts, but Oseh Shalom b'mromav, may the one who makes or does peace in the heaven, in the high places, b'mromav, right? Romimu is a synagogue I go to. It's to lift up, leharim, to elevate. In the high place, hu yaseh shalom. May the one who makes peace up there bring peace or make peace upon us and upon all of Israel here. Ve'imru amen. Now, as we all know, in liberal circles, people have added a clause that says ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, and upon all those yoshvei who are dwellers, tevel, of the earth, basically, and all earthlings, and upon all people on earth. Really upon all earthlings, as I'll expand to my anti-speciesist perspective. Let there be peace for everybody, including the dogs and cats. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you over there, Black Velvet. Let there be peace upon all. And what a beautiful ending to the prayer. It really reiterates our commitment to peace. And not only that, but if you really look at it, it's doubled. We're saying it twice. It's like, we really, really want peace. So, there you go. And you'll see it, on high holidays, we talk about the ultimate peace. So it's not peace, but it's also Oseh HaShalom, may the one who makes the peace. I think the implication being the shofarot service, where we imagine us getting back to an era of Mashiachkeit, back to a world of messianism, where we once again have a king who is creating the peace. Irvin.
Yeah, what is the reason and the choreograph at the end, the Oseh Shalom, where you bend over twice, this way and that way? What is the reasoning or the symbolicness of that?
So, very good question. The essence of this is that we are sort of retreating from our audience with the king, right? At the beginning of the Amidah, we take steps back and then we walk forward and we bow and we're before the king. And at the very end of the Amidah, we take steps backward and we bow and we say, "See you later, alligator," and we leave the presence of Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's what that's about, and we also bow in multiple directions to acknowledge that we're not literally bowing to a king, but really we're bowing to this abstract notion of king, which is really universal, right? There is no, just like when we shake the lulav in the 6 directions, we're saying God is everywhere. So that's
you're bowing and you're stepping backwards at that point?
Yeah, because you're just finishing. That's why it's at the end of the Amidah. When you are the Shaliach Tzibor, you take your steps forward, you keep your feet together through the entire service, and then at the very end, you're taking the steps back. So this prayer, the Kaddish Shalem, is performed by the Shaliach Tzibor, the service leader, and they are still in a state of prayer. They need to get out of that state because their feet had been together, they're in a posture of prayer, and now that the prayer is ending, they take the steps back and they're done. And that's also, it's interesting that it happens after Hallel, because it suggests that Hallel is actually part of the Amidah in a way when you have Hallel. But yes, you are retreating from your audience with the king. Think in terms of Esther and her, all the pomp and circumstance associated with her having an audience with Achashverosh. There's the touching of the scepter, right? And all of this, there is a regal type of communication with a king, because it's not every day you get to be with the king. Yes, Sylvia.
So, and also the Mourner's Kaddish people do that.
Yes, and I'm not as familiar, and I haven't had a chance yet to look up, and I need to do so. There are all these things I have in my list of, I need to look it up. But yes, in the Mourner's Kaddish, people take steps back without it being associated with an Amidah. I actually don't know whether that is correct. There's a part of me that wonders whether it is, because I think even though everyone does it, it doesn't mean that it's correct. It may just be a minhag.
We're all following each other.
Right.
Right. We're corners of our eyes. Oh, wait, look, she's doing this.
That's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I need to figure that one out. I mean, I just haven't gotten around to looking it up. I want to actually see it in writing about when a mourner says Kaddish.
And also, we walk at the wall, at the kotel. People walk backwards away from it.
Well, that's actually exactly the same thing.
Okay.
You're leaving the presence of Shekhinah or the place where, where God was dwelling, right? Actually, we believe after the second destruction that Shekhinah actually left along with the 10 Commandments and all of that. So, but yes, you take steps backward because you're leaving the audience of God. Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
It's very powerful because you're watching the wall. Everything gets smaller as you step back. And
yes. Yeah, definitely. Now, since these prayers, I guess we need to end, but you'll notice that in the Chatzi Kaddish, it only goes up to, to here. And then the part about accepting the prayers or receiving the prayers and the piece about peace are left out. And I think that has to do with the fact that the Chatzi Kaddish operates differently. It's a transitional, it's like a marker, it's like a divider in a book, right? It's saying, okay, we're going to change chapters. It's not saying we're ending a major piece of prayer. Right? Especially in the Torah service, we say Chatzi Kaddish, and then we're kind of, moving on into, more reading. So, but I do want us to look at the really difficult stuff of the burial Kaddish next time, which is an esoteric Kaddish that most people don't know. It's a lot of Aramaic that's front-loaded, and I have very little expertise in it, but it would be fun for us to do it together and see what that's all about. Okay?
What do you mean by front-loaded?
Meaning that it's at the very... Oh, and we also should look at Kaddish Rabbanan. At the very beginning of the Kaddish, the burial Kaddish, is a huge paragraph of Aramaic that is... So I mean front-loaded in the sense that it's at the front of that prayer. So, all right. Well, this has been enlightening, and I hope everyone has a blessed day. If you didn't say Modani yet, say Modani. Maybe we should do that whenever we meet.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be great.
All right. Remind me, because I'll forget. Or just start it. We'll sing it. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Rabbi, Brad, for coming. Yes.
Great. Thanks a lot. Rabbi, tonight, can you open the